Well, hello again, everybody. Waiting for our strange black screen to disappear there, but here we are. Here we are, live with the Inworld review for the 21st of April 2013, albeit in virtuality, which could be any date, any time, anywhere, really. As exemplified by the Fantasy Faire, an event currently happening here in Second Life, where all things are possible and nothing is impossible. And it's all in aid of Relay for Life fundraising. Fantasy Faire opened yesterday, and for those of you watching live today, you have also probably been watching about a half hour's worth of clips on our main program, Metaverse Week in Review, which preceded the show, and featuring work by Dexter Dupre, a bit of camera work by myself, and all sorts of interesting stuff about Fantasy Faire, really. And I heard earlier today that so far they have raised, I think there's approaching 2 million, it's probably past that now, lindens, which is well over 8,000 US dollars. In fact, I bet you they're something like 10,000 by now, they must be. But anyway, it is all going well. Targets are being reached earlier and earlier, so a good job is being done by all there. We're not exactly jam-packed full of guests this week. They're all either disappeared offline somewhere, or they're at Fantasy Faire lurking around, no doubt, and got no time for us. But that is life. It has, in some ways, as far as I can see, been a fairly quiet week. Anyway, so we do have a bit of Inworld news and stuff coming up later. But without further ado, I'm going to toss it over to my partner Tara Yeats, who's sitting on my left, for her sort of roundup of the news this week. So, hi, Tara.
Hi, hi, Mel.
Not to mention the wonderful globe and accoutrement you adorned with.
Oh yes, well, you know, with Fantasy Faire and you in a fantasy sort of costume today, I figured I had to do something. And this particular outfit is called Boudoir Earth, and the creator is Precious Restless. And this and numerous other creations can be found at Boudoir Sim. That's Boudoir for those of you who are spelling impaired. Anyway, I thought this was quite apt. Not only is it a fantasy outfit, but it's also just a day past Earth Day, so it made sense to recognize Earth Day. And besides which, it goes with my eyes. So now, fortunately, so far, Tyga, sitting on the arm of the chair, hasn't noticed the BIRDS in the branches around the globe. So, but watch out, we may have a cat chasing birds before long in World. Anyhow, well, I'll let Saffia talk more about Fantasy Faire. But anyway, to move on to other things in the realm of fantasy, we have this. Truth is stranger than fiction, or reality is stranger than fiction sometimes. And the award this week for that goes to Hamlet's little article about titled "Scientists Testing to See if First Life is Really Second Life." Oh. And this was he starts off with a theory which goes like this. The theory basically goes that any civilization which could evolve to a post-human stage would almost certainly learn to run simulations on the scale of a universe, and that given the size of really billions of worlds around billions of suns, it's fairly likely that if this is possible, it has already happened. And if it has, then the statistical likelihood is that we're located somewhere in that chain of simulations within simulations, which is one of those, you know, wrap your head around that one for a few minutes. But apparently, Professor Martin Savage at the University of Washington, which happens to be my alma mater, says that while our own computer simulations can only model a universe on the scale of an atom's nucleus, there are already signatures of resource constraints which could tell us if larger models are possible. So, you know, this is you know, kind of one of those interesting questions to ponder if we are a simulation. Anyway, and then and Dizzy gets the brownie points for. He says that's cool because I definitely want to know if I'm a simulation within a simulation, writing about a simulation within a simulation within a simulation. And if you didn't get lost on that one, you're better at following those than I am. And Dizzy Banjo apparently found the Martin Savage comment, so he got a hat tip on that one. This week, in addition, this week, yes, and into next week, in addition to Fantasy Faire, for those of you who are into such things, Bay City Fashion Week as well. This is its second year. It's at the Bay City Fairgrounds, which is on North Channel Sim. The selected theme this year is the American Urban Experience, 1940 to 1965. And apparently it has sort of a circa 1950 feel to it. Designers taking part in this year's event were selected on the basis of their designs fitting the theme, best typified by Chicago-era 1950, and marked by a distinct deco influence. So there's something else for you to do. When you get too lagged out in Fantasy Faire, you can go get lagged out at the Bay City Fairgrounds. And onward to the segment I usually do first, which is the Eat Your Vegetables piece. And this is an update today on server-side baking. And basically, I think I ran through a description of this a couple of weeks ago. It's coming along. Server-side baking is supposed to improve how quickly and consistently textures res. By virtue of a lot of things happening on the server end rather than on the individual viewer end. And this is coming along. They've had a beta viewer in existence for a while. It was updated this past week. And the current estimate as of Friday is that this is the last beta viewer for server-side baking, and unless they run into a major hiccup, that it's likely that the first server-side baking update to the viewer could happen the middle of this coming week. So now that's specifically, there's the picture. The picture went blank for a minute. Where was I? Yes, this is the official viewer, and it's, what happens with third-party viewers coming out with their first ones is still, I haven't seen any announcements. Mel may have something on that, but this does not mean that server-side baking has rolled out yet. It has not, but it means it's not too far down the road. The estimates currently, it depends upon how well the testing goes on the beta grid, but the time frame in which the switch could be thrown for server-side baking deployment is anywhere from 2 weeks to 8 weeks. So it's coming. And here's the issue. The issue is, would you believe that there are somewhere over 1,700 different viewer strings which are being used to connect to Second Life, even if not on a daily basis? These not only include the official viewer and current versions of third-party viewer registered viewers, but also many instances of older versions of third-party viewers, snow globe-based viewers, several versions of the official version 1 viewer from Second Life, which could backdate us over 5 years. Viewers which are not registered with the third-party viewer directory, and self-compiled versions, and so on. So there's an awful lot of different viewers people are using to get into Second Life. I was stunned by that number. And the issue is that in order for textures to res, and in order for you to see people as with with skins and eyes and all that, and not gray people, you're going to have to upgrade to a viewer that is equipped to handle server-side baking once they flip the switch. And there's a definite concern about word getting out to people. And there is also a high likelihood that there will be a lot of kerfluffle around when they flip the switch. Just, you can count on it. So be prepared. If you're a blogger, If you're a newscaster someplace else, if you're talking to friends, I'd encourage everyone to start getting familiar with what this means, and whatever viewer you're using, do the updates when they start rolling out the server-side viewers, so that you're ready when they the lab hits flips the switch. So that's the update on that. It's, you know, I have my fingers crossed that this goes a little more smoothly than some of these things have gone in the past when Linden Lab has actually turned something loose on the main grid. But you've all been warned, and whatever your favorite viewer is, do keep tabs on what they're doing as far as releasing updates that are set up to handle server-side baking. I think that's enough on that. And if you want a really good and intelligible summary of the stuff, Inara Pay's blog is my go-to source. She did a wonderful job here a few weeks back in summarizing what server-side baking means. And that's modemworld.wordpress.com, and backtrack in her posts to early April, and you should find the one where she does a server-side baking for the non-geek summary. So on that note, Mal, I'm going to toss it back to you. I'm really glad, you know, that this particular Earth that's on my head is filled up with helium, because it's not too heavy.
Yes, good point. If that was filled with lead, I think it'd be wriggling around a bit under there. Well, good news. Yeah, well, I'm really hoping we can get Inara to come on the show one week, actually. She's not actually on my friends list in Inworld, so I'll have to do a bit of hunting to see if we can get her on. Great blog, that is. Hamlet's discovery of the multiverse seems to be a bit late. This has been covered all over the place for a long while, but as you say, it's absolutely fascinating. Are we a simulation within a simulation within a simulation? I mean, of course, it is quite possible. We don't even know the extent of the known universe, really. So if that's a simulation, what lies beyond it? They're great questions always to ask. I certainly hope whatever metaverse or universal, whatever we want to call it, whatever simulation is at the top of the barrel, let's just hope that they haven't subcontracted the weather to Linden Labs. And as you mentioned, Linden Labs are getting ready to pull a switch. Now, you could be forgiven for thinking that Linden Labs have the habit of pulling switches several times a day. But the fact that they're going to pull a big switch is really cause for some apprehension. I suspect, my suspicion is that even Firestorm and some of the bigger third-party browsers will come across problems the moment the switch is pulled, and that there'll be a period of time where we might have to only use Second Life's own client to get in. We will see. But as Tara rightly says, something to be cautious about. It's a big change, and so who knows quite what will happen when the switch is pulled. Assuming they don't forget to put the plug in before they pull the switch, of course. That's another thing. You know what they're like. You know what these people are like. Anyway. As I said, there's no real major sort of hypergrid or OpenSim news this week. You know, the normal updates and things like that, but no spectacular birthdays new or anything else like that. Inworld's Metaverse and Metropolis, a whole load of them have been celebrating recently, but it's been fairly quiet this week. And even I have not been hypergridding to the extent I did the week before. What we haven't been able to avoid, of course, is the media coverage and the fact, of course, of the events in Boston earlier in the week. There have been some equally, if not greater, disastrous events happening all over the world during the course of the week too. But we all feel for the people of Boston. And if you look behind me, you'll see resting. It won't fit on my head. It's not this avatar's head. Resting on the chair behind me. Well, I've got a nice little top hat there. And it's just I got a purple. It's Boston strong, basically. I don't know if we can see it on camera. Anyway, you can get this hat for free if you want to show your support for the people of Boston. You need to look up a place called the Mad Hattery in Inworld. I'm a great fan of the Mad Hattery. I think I own half their shop. I bought half their shop over the course of time. Anyway, this one's a freebie. So you can pick it up from there for free, just if you want to show your support and stuff like that. So I thought I'd mention that. And the size of my big head explains why the hat is currently resting on the chair and not my top, so to speak. Anyway, I think that's that. So I have a few Inworld links and stuff going on in the week, which I'll be bringing into the conversation as we sort of continue. But I think it's time to go over to the folks, the other folks sitting here on the seats today. I'm going to go in reverse order, sort of thing, really. Our beautiful camera woman, complete with tail and mermaidy sort of look today. Petlove Petshop is also sitting in the seat to join the conversation. Oh, I don't know, Tara was mentioning the cat chasing her birds, but Petlove seems to be surrounded by fish. So the cats are going to be overjoyed if they wake up, aren't they? Welcome, Petlove.
Thank you. Hi. Good to be here.
And good to have you here. You're always here, but you know what I mean. Have you here especially, so to speak.
Thank you.
And to my left-hand side, is that no, it's my right-hand side sort of thing. It's terrible when you look at the screen. You never know where you're back to front or not. As ever, it's Saffia Widdershins. Hi, Saffia.
Hello. Good to be back.
And good to have you back, as always and forever. And if anybody probably knows more than Xander about the Fantasy Faire, amongst other things, it's going to be Saffia. So as you people watching live will have seen immediately before the show some various clips, one of which featured the real world Xander, filmed by Drasta Dupre, and the last clip before this show came on air was actually a little visit to the quest of the Golden Prims little section in Fantasy Faire, which Saffia was narrating. So yes, that was a lovely little clip, all put together in the last 24 hours. So well done all, and I include Petlove in that because she filmed it.
Yeah,
thank you.
Petlove braved the lag to film it, which was quite considerable.
I gather Petlove. Well, she can tell us. I believe you had to log in and stay res for 3 hours before everything came up ready for filming.
Well, it was really strange. I waited about 90 minutes for things to res, and they didn't. So I said, oh no, I'm not sitting here any longer. And I came back later, and everything was fine. It was really bizarre. So, yeah. But it worked out.
It's been a funny old weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Well, the Fantasy Faire, of course, actually, as I said in some of the clips preceding, I did a bit of, by comparison, crap filming on the Friday, which Xander got me in, a day ahead of the public, but it was pretty laggy even then. But basically, it opened yesterday, didn't it? And we've already reached the 2 million Linden milestone, is it?
I believe so, yeah. So that's pretty good for 2 days. I remember how excited they were in the early days of Fantasy Faire when they raised $1 million.
That's an amazing amount of money.
It is, isn't it? It's just incredible. Mm-hmm. People are so generous. I was at a couple of the jail and bails yesterday. They arrest people and put them in a paddy wagon which travels around the Sims. And you can go and bail them out. They raise enough money to have them bailed out. And there was they arrested Kiana Reiter of Mad P, and then they arrested Evangeline Miles of Evie's Closet, and they both had to be bailed out by friends and companions, which was quite fun.
I bailed Lauren Whalen out last week.
Did you?
Yeah. He IM'd me. He said, Petlove, I'm in jail. Say 1,000. I said, 1,000. And he got out. It was funny.
Well, we're planning a bail in jail that's going to involve the quest for the Golden Prim too.
Oh, so, good. Mm-hmm.
That's, yeah. If you read the quest for the Golden Prim, At one point, 3 of the characters were jailed in Steelhead, suspected of a hideous murder.
Oh, God.
And in the story, they managed to escape with the aid of one of the other questers who drugged the police. And what we are doing with the quest for the Golden Prim, it's going to be a bit like, you know, when Doctor Who takes part in a charity telethon, they have Doctor Who kind of out of time. The story won't be canonical. It won't be linked to anything that's happened before or after. And we're going to do that with Quest for the Golden Prim. The story that we're going to kind of play out this week is going to be based on what has gone before, but it's not going to affect what comes after, if you see what I mean. And the plot is going to be that the after escaping from Steelhead, they escaped the volcano in Steelhead, and the questers were separated, but they made arrangements that they would all meet up at the Explorers Club on the Fairlands at Fantasy Faire. So they've turned up, some of them, but the academics, who were the ones suspected of the murder, have gone out exploring. What they don't realise is that word from Steelhead has reached the Fairlands that they are at large, and so the police in the Fairlands are going to be hunting for them, and people who go to the fair will be able to take part in the hunt as well. And it's all going to build up to a big climax next Saturday when we have the actual relaunch of Quest for the Golden Prim. So, and it hopefully we'll be able to raise money for Relay for Life through it.
That's awesome. Good job.
No.
Something rather, I'm getting a bit distracted there by chat, but Tammy, who's in the audience here, actually has just pointed out, well, a few minutes ago, pointed out in chat that there's a Second Life Boston meetup who actually meet in the restaurant that was right where that bomb went off in the week.
Right.
It really rather brings it home, doesn't it? So I think it's actually quite a big presence in the virtual world in Boston, so to speak. So sorry, I was getting distracted by that, but the uncanny thought when things get that close to home. Right. Well, we had we of course what I didn't show today about Fantasy Faire. Sorry, we had a new edition of Happy Hunting.
We did.
Did we not? Yes.
It's come back, and again, it had a Fantasy Faire theme. We actually had an interview with Xander, who, poor love, has to be a bit ubiquitous this time of the year.
Popular man. Yes.
And he talked about the quest. About the hunt. They are having a hunt for the Key of Hope. The Key of Hope hunt. It's written by David Abbott, who is, of course, the writer of Black Mirror, and it's being organised and scripted and all that good sort of thing by Mad P.
Right.
Wonderful. It's starting on Tuesday, and it's really rather quite interesting because the first part of the hunt will take you all around the Fairlands. So you need to go and explore and find things all around the Fairlands to collect things. The second part takes place on a sim that's dedicated just to the hunt. And that sim will be open for a month beyond the fair. So you have to race around and get the first part while the fair is open. But the second part you have a month to complete.
Okay.
And that should be quite exciting, I think.
I think you mentioned before we were on air, on one of the clips I was showing, there's that lovely valley where it goes very dark with the blue eerie light, and that is the sim where the second part takes place, I'm presuming.
Yes, that's right. At the moment, it's sealed off by a wall of glass. You can't actually get onto it. It was very funny. Kieran Lavelle was interviewing me about the quest the other day for his blog, and it was we were on the sim Lotus Valley Dream, which is where the Quest for the Golden Prim Explorers Club is, and just as we were about to go in and look at it, the 5-minute warning came up. So we said, okay, we'll go to the next sim, and we jumped onto the next sim, and it was full, so we couldn't get on. So then we said, okay, we'll go to the Valley sim. There's not too many people on there, and we jumped to there. He didn't have the perms I had, because I had lots of perms because we'd been filming there. We'd done a Designing World segment, and we'd also done Happy Hunting there. So I just went into the core of it, and he was the other side of the glass wall. So we conducted the interview through the glass wall, and it felt a bit like, someone's lawyer coming to visit them in prison.
Oh God, it would, wouldn't it? Oh, how hysterical!
Ouch.
Yeah, I got in there okay, but I guess I was given the right access or whatever. Interesting. In fact, it was really impossible to actually see half the builds there. I didn't go into any of the stores, really. There was no time, but just getting around the builds. And I noted in one of the clips that I was actually just flying across the Sims. And, there was one transition. I think it was where I entered the sort of more or less Oriental Sim, where about 10 wind line changes all happened in really, really rapid succession as I was flying. And it actually made for a rather exciting bit of video.
Yes.
But it was a very odd feeling because, very disorientating. I don't know about looking through glass, but this was just like you were sort of just falling into a completely different world, second by second. Very strange feeling.
Some of the wind light settings are absolutely gorgeous. The Oriental Sim is a case in point. They've actually changed it. They've taken one of Brino's wind light settings, her Mayfly setting, and they've made it into this amazing sunset. It's absolutely gorgeous. You walk out of the door of our club and you're just confronted by a long look down to the water. You've got the towers of Luminaria on your left and Lotus, gorgeous stuff, down to this wonderful sunset over the water. I think I say I've got the best view in the Fairlands. I've got two unique things. I've got the best view, and I've also got the only washroom, which means that we're very, very popular.
Yeah, and they can actually find the washroom even if they can't find what lies beyond. Very interesting.
Exactly.
I should mention, actually, for people listening who wonder what we're talking about, in Second Life particularly, there's a facility called Windlight that allows people doing buildings to preset the lighting and kind of almost weather conditions of an environment you might walk into, so you can quite possibly go over the border from one place to another, and you've not only moving into new architecture and stuff, but the whole environment of the planet, the surroundings seem to change. And this is something the artists, who are doing installations and things, have made amazing use of in Second Life, because they don't only do something exotic and fantasy-like, they then light it the way they want you to see it, and when you enter it, you usually find your viewer switches to the lighting they've set, and it's a very powerful tool indeed.
Absolutely.
And
build an atmosphere.
Much to the distress, of course, of machinery makers like Petlove. On many occasions, you're wandering around, of course, and if you've got more than one camera, you sort of, and suddenly the wind light's different on everybody's machine.
It's at least a 15 or a 20-minute discussion, but on any multi-camera shoot. Throw in a director, it's a half an hour. But it's good. It's time well spent. You have to do it.
She adds hastily.
Yeah, right. Damn, there goes that raise.
Yeah, at least with dealing with lighting in a virtual environment, you're not dealing with some of the unpredictable variables of shooting in
which
in
can
the
still
oil
be
sim.
quite unpredictable if you don't get a grip on them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
they can. I'm just thinking that at least it's a it's a known quantity that you can say, okay, use this setting for your lighting while you're filming, and know that things are going to be reasonably consistent. But try the same thing over 3 different days in shooting in organic space.
Oh, forget it. Yeah.
It's funny, actually, though. I often find that, synchronizing wind light settings and everything else like that still does not fully work, because if people are, especially if they're screencasting the video as opposed to sending a capture card signal, their own monitor calibrations are often very different. People calibrate their monitors very differently, and of course Screencast picks up not only the settings but also the settings on your personal monitor. So two people rarely have the exact same calibration on their monitor, but at least you get a level of consistency. So yeah, we're lucky there. Right, so what else? I've got a few links open here from the in-world businesses, so to speak. Slugfest 2013. Do any of you know about the Slugfest?
Nope. Sounds fun.
Well, this is a post from a blog I follow called Second Life Play Instinct, and basically it's a news blog for gaming in Second Life. So I don't take particular interest in gaming, but this is just a blog that produces news for people using Second Life as gaming. And basically this seems to be an annual gamers festival that goes on in Second Life, and it's been happening all weekend. It's just called Slugfest 2013, April 18th to 21st. So I guess today is the last day. Second Life United Gamers Festival. And I'm just quicking that right. It's if I've got a blog post open, it's sl-playinstinct.blogspot.co.uk, and the sim where all this taking place is, believe it or not, Cookie. Cookie, of course, is the Hobo, I think, of Melville Sims, I believe. All I've got is Cookie 136 122.
I saw the name of that and I thought, I get slugs in my backyard in abundance, but the Pacific Northwest has a serious slug.
No kidding.
Thing. I mean the banana slug is something of a local mascot. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess the name probably comes from something like "slug it out" or some expression.
I would guess, yeah.
Or
Second Life United Gamers.
Yeah. So slugs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Acronym.
Oh, so it's not a fighting club? I'm thinking it's boxing
It's
or
an
something.
It's an acronym.
Thank you,
Second Life
Saffia.
United Gamers.
You dispelled all of our misapprehensions.
I'm
no.
so sorry.
I'm glad you did.
So, but they must have known it was going to have an interesting secondary purpose.
Sure.
But no, it's 24/7. They've got board games, Monopoly, stuff like that, video games, coin machines, card games, carnival games.
Oh, I have to go.
Science fiction role play, live entertainers, etc. Sim-wide treasure hunt, trivia contests, a chess tournament, a paintball tournament, and a jousting tournament, amongst other things on this long list.
Fantastic.
And there's even some adult mud wrestling for those who really want to go to the...
Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen it.
It's awesome. You grab your opponent by the neck and bounce him back up and down into the mud. They have some great animations. They're funny. It's not that I think that's fun. It's just that it's very funny.
I did get a trailer earlier in the week. It's not something I'd run here, which was an advert for some... It might even be a program, some wrestling program or other in Second Life, and all the stuff they get up to. It's sort of kind of defeats the object for me. I actually had to help commercially, so to speak, film football. I think it was NFL or something in Second Life at one point. And, you know, I just sitting there with a camera and stuff and couldn't really believe what I was doing. It was very, very boring. You know, it's not like even watching.
Those games are probably more fun to play than to film, because I've filmed a few of those too. The best thing to do is to focus on the ball, and then you get some action.
Yeah, just follow the ball.
Otherwise, you're dead. Yeah. But when you all click on the ball, it's kind of good.
Yeah, except when, I don't know, these people, I do remember that didn't quite solve the problem, because when there's these pause points or something. I think it was an American game that has lots of pauses in it for people to catch their breath, and presumably, and the script's always reset at that point. And if your camera was following the ball, all hell broke loose when the script reset came on. But anyway, that is just one of the joys of sometimes filming strange things. Yeah. So, I suppose wrestling, I don't know. You can. If it's done well enough, I think I probably would be laughing. I certainly wouldn't be taking it seriously.
WWE, I think VWE in Second Life do some amazing choreography with wrestling. And I would highly recommend anybody go at least once. There's a lot of fun. You get to hold up signs like "Your Mama" and, you know, "So-and-so stinks." You know, you get to harass and trash talk, and these guys throw themselves around, and women too. They do it just like SmackDown on TV. And if you're any kind of a fan of wrestling, they don't do a bad job. They do a pretty good job.
I think we have a documentary filming in Nothing, do we?
I have several. I'll pull one out for you.
It's something interesting to look at on film, I think. Yes.
Okay.
It'd be a great invitation for a commentator, wouldn't it? But think about that later. And there's something else that's happening, which again is role play after fashion. I mean, actually, I think Tara mentioned at the top of the show there was a fashion event of some sort going on. Did you mention that, Tara?
Yep. At Bay City.
That was the one.
It's their second annual fashion week at the Bay City Fairgrounds.
Okay.
And the theme is the American Urban Experience 1940 and 1965, with a kind of apparently it has a center of gravity of Chicago circa 1950. So if you like the clothes of the 50s, which I don't.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I don't want to go back to petticoats and and shirtwaists.
Yeah, just a bit too recent for uncomfortable.
Poodle skirts.
30s, 40s is probably fine, but 50s, no, I remember that. Well, actually, the reason I mentioned it, though, is that also on this weekend is the menswear fashion week. And, of course, being a man, this came across my radar, so I might just look it up. It started yesterday, 20th, and it's running through to April 27th with shopping, events, fashion shows, and gentlemen, this is a unique event dedicated to you, basically. And I have a calendar of events that you can find at this is all one word, styleandaddict.blogspot.co.uk. And they've got the full agenda there for all the events happening day by day. And the sort of thing I might just about get to, being a man, then I might find something interesting to wear.
I didn't even hear about that. Excuse me.
It's surprising. You know, I come across these things, they go in my Twitter feed, and I bookmark them to sort of just plug on the show or whatever, and it's true. I mean, it makes you realise just how big Second Life still is. You know, there'll be events that just completely go under the radar for one group of people, and they're all the rage for another group. You know, you probably go to the Gents Fashion Fair and find there's people that have never heard of Fantasy Faire, for example. You know, it's one of those things.
I was talking to someone today who came up to Fantasy Faire and was asking me if I wanted to role play on her sim, which I had heard of, which is, I think, quite a large role play community. And I said, "What, you really ought to have a plot at SL10B." And she said, "What's SL10B?" And she's the second person to say that to me today. And you know, you think, okay, we think we're reaching out to people, but there's so many that we're just not reaching.
This is a whole other issue. It's an issue we face for broadcasting and stuff like that. Is we know we have some reach, and we put it in enough places to broaden the reach as much as possible. But you're filming programs for users as Second Life, be they there for entertainment, work, or whatever. And short of actually having it on Linden's splash pages or whatever, how do you get the message across? I mean, if you use Firestorm, everybody's heard of Fantasy Faire because Firestorm put it on their front page, but Linden's haven't.
Firestorm put SL10B on their front page too.
Yes.
With links to the blog when we launched, and they've done it again when we opened applications. Brilliant, and thank you, Firestorm. And Linden Lab put that, when we launched, they put it on the front page, and people, what? No, never heard of it. What's SL10B? Tell me about it. I mean, good that I'm out there telling people.
Well, somebody we launched a community group on I and Daniel Dan Voyager, and the whole group of us really launched this thing on Google Plus. And I remember about 3 days afterwards, I wasn't following that carefully, but I distinctly remember one person joining up. I forget who it was. And their first remark was, yay, glad to be here. Didn't know they were still going, I thought they finished 3 years ago, or maybe when Linda stopped doing them. So, clearly it was, just the odd little bit of viral was getting through to somebody who didn't have a clue it was happening. So it really is worth a long discussion in itself, actually, the uphill struggle of actually becoming viral within Second Life. You can go on Facebook and Twitters and things and make petty things viral, especially if you read up on how the different ways of doing it. But there's no really good way of getting yourself viral in Second Life. Even the event listings and things, they're all sort of scattered.
You know how Second Life opens up the search window now when you first log on? Does that happen to you?
No, I use Firestorm, so
I do too.
Yes. Wait, in the Second Life viewer, I think it does. Yeah.
Well, I know in my Firestorm it does, and if it does that to a lot of people, they could certainly open up this type of window too. I mean, if Second Life really wanted to help, they could. Is what I'm saying.
I actually had I don't know where I should say this, but I was working on the idea of not a custom metaverse viewer. I'd love to see that anyway, where they throw out anything Linden and sort of rebuild a viewer with everything that's totally interop rather than Linden specific. But the launch page for every viewer is a web page. There's no reason, I can do it manually. I can go into the login URI in Second Life and change the landing page to a web page of my choosing, which can have my web TV channels and stuff embedded in it. But, I can't go up to Linden Labs or Firestorm and say, please change your login page to this nice thing I've built, which has TV and news and everything, But the idea of doing that is actually quite attractive. I'd almost like to have a custom version of Firestorm, with my own login page, which other people would use, showing them the latest videos, showing them the latest news streams and stuff like that. So they got like an information console that is the login page that they can't avoid but don't have to use.
Like a dashboard.
The problem with that though, Mal, is that if it's one that you've created, you're back to square one in having to make it viral. It's like what the Linden Lab needs to do a much better job of using the real estate that people see when they log in to get information in people's hands.
I totally agree. One of the reasons I haven't really done it is simply because I'd have to make the I'd have to get a custom version of Firestorm made or something, and then I'd have to try and make that viral, and it's no use. There's so many other viewers. But I'm just thinking of all the ways we're forever trying to think of to make programming viral and things like that. I love the idea that you can just choose a program, a virtual broadcast, as it were, on the web, and then while you're watching it under the window, there'll be a little button saying TP into the audience. Like, going out on live stream as part of Weekend Review just right now, but all I can do is type in chat, if you want to join us in World, follow this link, blah blah blah. But it'd been lovely to have that kind of instant teleport system where you can go from a broadcast into the live audience. But it's all it will come probably at some point. But it's something. I think anybody out there who's got any feelings about this, let us know, because I think there is an endless quest for ways to make things we're doing viral. And viral without actually taking over the whole landscape, if you see what I mean. You don't, you don't want to make your own thing viral to the point that it swamps out other things happening. It's just some sort of mechanism that sort of allows people to find out a lot easier what is going on, because the Linden Lab search and events and stuff is not adequate, and there's a lot of blogs that come out weekly with recommendations that are very good, but even long ones. There's a very long one comes out from Bixel, what's his name, on Tuesday. Chapter, yeah. And that's incredibly long. It scrolls right under, it takes me ages to scroll down the list of what's happening during the week. But even that, incredibly long as it is only a fraction, of what is happening. So
yeah. Well, and you also have the, if you look at, for example, what people post in what's happening, how much of that is actually stuff that you're interested in. Yeah. So I, there's an interesting another post, and Daniel Voyager gets points for having noted that the likes or the follows on Facebook for the official Second Life page has passed 300,000, which is a pretty hefty number and far outweighs the number of Second Life follows or whatever, or likes in other media, whether it's Twitter or Google Plus, for the official Second Life presence in those locations. But the issue is the issue you ultimately come back to is when people log into Second Life, how many people are actually open to getting information about things like SL10B or unless it hits them over the head, as the server-side baking will do. When they log in with a non-compliant viewer and everybody's gray and stays gray, then we know what's going to happen. But it's there's that bottom line question of what are people paying attention to, and what are they ignoring because they come in world to visit with particular friends, or or hang out at a particular club, and they could care less. I mean, I don't even look at the login screen most of the time. I'm just speaking for myself, and I at least make a half-hearted that's a half-assed attempt to keep up with stuff.
Well, I don't see that much of it because I barely use SL's viewer, and Firestorm, I must say, I always do notice, because they will always focus on one message in the login window, so you can't really miss that. And they do make good choices, I think, on stuff to promote that way. But at the end of the day, it's both, the thing of something that's graphically attractive and also very easy to use. It's like the video aggregations I do. I mean, I tag things into playlists that are actually based on themes, because I think, well, if you tell somebody there's these thousands of broadcasts and virtual worlds, they're not going to go where to start. But if you tell them, press here for education, press here for community, press here for fashion, press here for destinations, it sort of begins to start making a bit of sense, because you don't want to overclutter it, but you want options for different people with different kind of interests. And I think the trap with a lot of things is they get customized, but they get customized to a particular interest. or a sphere of interest, and that alienates people that aren't included in, you know, that particular interface, so to speak. I know it's a you know, difficult thing, but once you've logged Inworld, you know, short of using the obligatory buttons for search and stuff like that, there's which are clunky in my opinion. In one of them, I've got 2 searches, and one of them doesn't even work properly. It says can't find web page half the time. The legacy search, I think it's called, works better, but even so, it's very difficult to find things, and when they do search, it's a very antiquated system. For example, if I searched, as I did in the week, for Fantasy Faire, for example, it wasn't going to help me with the Sims, interestingly enough, because none of them are actually called Fantasy Faire, and I don't think they were publicly online at the time anyway. But in searching through everything, I got all sorts of obscure references, which had nothing to do with Fantasy Faire, the one we've been talking about, but more to the point, Linden's, you know, they, if you type in the word Fantasy Faire, they don't distinguish between the word fantasy, the word Fantasy Faire, and the word fair. So you end up getting, you know, a mass of information that is totally irrelevant. If I do that at Google, and I, you know, put Fantasy Faire in inverted commas, then they'll damn well make sure I only get results that pertain to the grouping of those 2 words. But in Second Life, you can spend days looking around for things, because their search just is not that sensitive to what you're really looking for. But I'm getting my moan for the day in, aren't I? We didn't get that at the top
grumpy
of the show.
metaverse avatars.
Yes, the grumpy old avatars review. Yeah, only while there's present, mind you. But anyway, let's get back to if you're interested in the men's the sim where it's all happening. Bloody browser. Sorry, my browser's just decided to beam away from the landmark. Okay, the sim is MWFW space 2013, and the coordinates I have are 5, 12, and 25. So that's the slurl if you want it for the men's fair. What else have I got now? Just to prove the point that something else is going on, really important today, really. It's not Relay for Life, but a very worthy course. Autism Awareness, Lighting the Way. Event kickoff was at 6 p.m. on Friday. And, the start day was the 19th, but I think it may well be still going on. It's a biker's theme. Yeah, here we are, April 19th to the 21st. And all the events are to raise money for the Autism Society in the States. And they have 63 sponsors bringing you all sorts of things. There's a theme of biking, I believe. I'm just... okay, the article I've got on this is... okay, you need to go to www.sluniverse.com and then go /feedme, which is a sub-site, and the listing about that you'll find there, including links to other sites about it. So again, that's just one day left of that to go, but all in a good cause to support the fight against autism, really. And this one, this may be something Petlove and Saffia know about. Betty Toureau, I think is the right pronunciation. She has a new installation opening at the LEA 20, which again opened on Friday. It's called the 9 Art Planets. And I can tell you that if you're going to be watching the Metaverse Week in Review when this show finishes, there is a little clip of that installation coming up. But that one has just opened on Friday as well.
I went past that under construction, and it was very nice looking, and it wasn't even finished. It looked great.
I have quite a few. I've got from the post here that I'm going by. There's a few photographs and stuff, and it does look great. It's sometimes you look at photographs and it's hard to you can imagine the immersion that's involved, but you can't see it in the image, if you see what I mean. And I think it's one of those. I sort of look at this picture and think I can't quite figure out the meaning, but if I was there and engaged in that environment, it would take on a different dimension. So yeah. Anyway, a plug for that. And Dan Voyager, who is he was in a channel audience anyway. I don't know where he's in World. Had an interesting blog in the week, which is a recap of Second Life history from 1999 to 2013, which I guess it's rather a good way of getting into the 10th birthday hat, a bit ahead of schedule, isn't it? It's not totally exhaustive. It's just, it's just key points. But it starts in 1999 and with Inworld and focus on haptics in 2001. Beta testing finished in November 2002. There's loads more here, but I'm just picking up the obvious things. Teen Grid created in 2005, for example. And the X Street launch, Linden's by Avatars United. Whatever happened to that? And it's a useful little blog, especially for if you got a bad memory or simply don't know anything about Second Life history. It's got a few sort of landmark points in it there. So worth looking at that. That's danielvoyager.wordpress.com, and so I think it's yesterday or the day before. So yeah, those were my little add-ins there. So anything else we've got? What's Petlove? Anything on your radar this week apart from filming engagement followed by filming engagement?
You mean the unscheduled filming engagements?
Yeah. Interesting things are happening, shall we say?
I think the most interesting thing coming up is the release of Tiny Adventures. The history of tinies, beginning with prehistoric times, will be released soon.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, we're very excited.
Oh yes, that sounds like great fun.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is one you filmed, I take it.
Pardon?
This is something you filmed, I take it.
Yeah, it is. We and myself have had this on the back boiler for about a year. We filmed it about a year ago, but we've both been so busy we never find time to get it done. But it has been done, and I think I talked him into narrating it. So it'll be done real soon. The editing is done. We just need the narration. So it's either him or Hypatia Pickens. She doesn't know it yet. If you're out there, Hypatia, hey. But yeah.
Oh, that'd be great. The tinies are always fun. Is this a long a long form of cinema or just a series?
No, this is only about I think it comes in at about 5 minutes at the most. I think it's under 5 minutes. But the idea is that it'll be an ongoing series. Tiny Adventures. Tinies have adventures constantly. I mean, just talking about a waffle is an adventure sometimes, Vastly amusing, no matter what they do, and brilliant one way or the other. So we figure there are just so many stories to be told, and we think they need to be told. So we're going to take a stab at it.
I'm just thinking, you could almost do a parody of one of those police dramas featuring the
They do that every day at Raglan.
It came up last week, didn't it? The mind was bobbling at tinies in militarized uniforms wandering around as cops or whatever. This doesn't quite seem right, What next? Petite's army.
Right.
The tiny police are just hilarious.
That's right. They'll be active in the Fantasy Fair.
Yeah.
Thus the barrels of syrup and...
All power has been given to the tiny police force, and they all have little segways to get around on.
Well, they're fierce, I mean, tinies are really upstanding citizens. You couldn't ask for better.
Well, and if you find yourself, if you suddenly notice that you're being beaten around
the ankles,
the knees and ankles by a policeman's wand, you'll know that you're in deep trouble.
You're breaking some law. You better have a waffle handy or some bacon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it for me, though, Mal.
What about the if there's anything, I don't know if there's anything to tell, but I noticed you posted, quite literally, we showed it before the show ran, a little trailer for, I know, something that Nicole X is involved in.
Oh, yeah, Nicole X.
Yeah, I noticed there's 3 sort of episodes there now. I'm quite a big fan of Nicole's work, but I'm forever downloading this sort of footage she does, and I can never really find anywhere to show it because, you know, she just does it. It's not really edited. It says a lot, but it's like an artist installation. It's just there to be made of what you will, and a lot of interlinked stuff. She gets onto threads and things, and then there'll be endless 30-second or 60-second clips based on these threads.
That's what I like to call raw Nicole. I mean, that has been her style, and when she asked me to start working with her, she wanted to not firm up, because she knows what she's doing and she sees stories, and I've learned what her stories are, and they really are there. But it's hard for people to grasp just visually, and that is something that we're working on. We're going to try to put together something a little more recognizable, and develop some stories. There's a grand overarching story. It's sort of a science fiction story. What I love about it is that it's so deeply entwined with abstract art. I'm just a big fan of the abstract art. That's what first drew me to Nicole. I met her just because I complimented a picture one time, and you know, time went on and we became friends, and then we started working together. Very talented artist, and she's always striving to expand her horizons and to grow. And she's also a big supporter of art in Second Life in her own way, which people don't always realize. But she really does try hard to support other artists. She credits everybody she can in all of her films, and she has over 1,400. She must be up to 1,500 clips between YouTube and Vimeo now. I mean, she's got an enormous body of work out there.
That's amazing.
And even though a lot of times it seems like it's a similar theme, like it's a lot of dancing, it's a lot of floating art, it still engages me and some other people too, just because you want to see what's coming up next, even though you kind of know, you still want to see it, which to me is good. That's a mark of, that's art to me.
How is that working with her on those clips? Are you sort of taking her footage and editing it?
I strictly edit.
Yeah.
I help with, you know, I make phone calls. We're trying to shop it around. We're looking for a good art publicist, in fact, right now. We have some plans, and I hope in time I can reveal more about it. But yeah, I'm just basically an editor, you know, an idea person, and just a friend at this point. But we're working on it.
Well, the trailer looked great, and I've downloaded. I have yet to watch them because it was literally yesterday while I was uploading stuff for this show. But there's three actual episodes.
In the Mind's Eye of Nicole X, right? They're all on Vimeo. They're 22 minutes each.
I noticed. We might run them in 3 parts over a few weeks.
Well, if you want me to split one, or you know, I can split them up for you if you want to do them in shorter segments.
No, in the second half, 20 minutes is fine. We often run at least 1 or 2 things that are semi-long form, shall we say? So okay. Yeah, but it's really nice work, and it also gets me out of this lust to show a bit of Nicole's work when I can't find anything that is standalone enough to show. So
good.
We'll run those over the coming weeks.
Terrific.
I've just got a back chat open here at the moment, and it seems that Joel Foner is going to join us any second, especially as he's in Boston, of course. So he figured he'd give us some Boston flavour, as the expression he's put to me in Skype here. So I can give him a Boston top hat too. I'm just looking in my internal friends list here to see if he's online and can be TP'd. I think he knows the address. Oh, I can't see him yet. Right. Oh well, hopefully he'll make it in time. Right. So, Saffia, let's move back to you briefly for a while. Anything new coming up that we've covered? Designing Worlds must be back shortly as well as Happy Hunting.
Designing Worlds will be back not this coming Monday, not tomorrow, but the Monday after. It will be from Fantasy Faire. It's going to be fantastic. Because we'll have a chance to look. We're going to do 2 shows from Fantasy Faire. Really, I'm afraid my week is going to be pretty solidly Fantasy Faire. When I'm in Second Life, I'm going to be doing a lot of Fantasy Faire, and it's going to be great. And then I will go off from that and start planning and plotting for the Home and Garden Expo. And then I've got the birthday. and then we got Relay.
Yeah, it is a long slog down into summer, isn't it?
It's a long slog.
And of course, Virtual World's Best Practices after that.
I escaped that one.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get August off.
I don't know what it is, it never rains, it pours. It always seems to happen, the events happen in Second Life, and I'm really glad this year that I spoke to Felon, a few months ago. I mean, we had him on the show last week, wasn't it? Because for one dreaded moment it sounded like that was going to be on the same weekend as the telethon. And it's another example of how many things can happen in Second Life. And if you want to be broadcasting something, can we please know for sure? Well in advance, please, because there's no way we could have handled 2 things like that on the same weekend. So yeah, it's it's good though. Everybody's busy, all these things happening. So.
All right.
That's me, and I'm out.
She says. Okay, well, I was sort of thinking we're about ready to wrap up. It's really a matter of whether Joel.
I just saw Joel log in to Inworld.
Oh yes, there he is. Okay, well, I'm going to do something called offer him a teleport, which means I'm going to try and teleport Joel over to us. For viewers at home, I should warn you in advance that he may land on my head.
I'll count on me and Tara.
Right, okay.
Okay, Mal, can I offer him my chair? Because I'm really sorry, but I ought to run and do things because I've got huge backlog of work. Is that okay?
Yes.
If I disappear and Joel can have my chair.
I think so. I think that would be absolutely fine. He's asking if a dragon is too big.
No.
In that case,
no. He can be a dragon. It's perfectly in sync with the fantasy theme today, even if his lips don't move.
Absolutely. Oh, I should. Can I just show off my clothes? What I'm wearing?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Pet, turn the camera away while I do the inelegancy of standing up.
Okay. Is it safe now?
It's safe now. I just wanted to share this because Damien Fate is a very well-known Second Life mesh designer who has Fatewear for men and who also has is one of the 3 designers behind Cold Logic, very, very popular. And for Fantasy Faire, he's brought out his first line of fantasy clothing, and this is his female one, the sort of elven dress, and it's really rather lovely. I'm actually wearing it with glitch pants. You can show an awful lot of leg with this one, but I decided to. There are some fantastic clothes over there. This is probably the simplest and plainest outfit I've got at Fantasy Faire. I picked up some other really, really gorgeous dresses. I make it a point of policy that while I'm at Fantasy Faire, I only buy and wear things that are in the vendors. And this is an example. This is available in lots of colours, but this one is is the one that's on sale in the Relay for Life vendor. So everyone go over there and buy it.
I like it.
Yes.
I definitely am
Gorgeous.
going to look for this one. I really like it.
Hi, guys.
Hey!
See a claw.
As we said, expecting Joel Foner, and last time Joel was on the show, we had to what was it? We had some.
Whoops.
He was a green guy.
How is this creature going to sit on the seat? It is all
He's
about
not.
fantasy. It is about fantasy.
He's not. He's going to stand in front.
That's an Isle of Worms dragon. That's a really nice Isle of Worms dragon.
Yes,
I would
it
say
is.
Is it
Yeah.
an Anubis?
Let me try to. I'll try to sit. Let's see what happens.
Is that an Anubis?
Oh.
Big one.
It's
No, it's a cat.
a bast
It's
dragon.
A bast dragon, yeah. I last night, I should say, just before I go, because I've got to run away. Last night, I actually managed to pause to dance a bit, and I put my chim on and was dancing with my chim, and 3 other dancers hopped on my chim and danced with me. So I ended up dancing with a giant spider and 2 dwarfs.
It's your lucky night.
Fantasy Faire. Okay. Good night, everyone.
Bye,
Okay.
Saffia.
Thanks.
Bye, Saffia,
Thanks.
and thanks for being with us. See you next week.
So,
Well, welcome, Joel. I must say, this is you sort of seem to have got a bit of your anatomy on the seat, so well done.
I'm not sure if that's better than standing. Let me. I think standing is just a little bit less bizarre. If you could say this is less bizarre.
Well, our conversation today has pretty much centered, as did the clips before the Inworld show, on the Fantasy Faire. So we've seen some pretty old things today. Even I'm trying to look glamorous, and as for Tara, you can see what she's got on her head.
Yeah. So, do I have in-world audio working? Does that matter?
Oh, that is a good point. I'm sure Petlove.
It doesn't matter. We hear you fine over Skype, and we
Yeah.
don't hear Inworld or see your lips, so it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
This is true.
So, cool. So I guess hi guys.
Hi, and sad to say, or good, well, I don't really know what to say, but of course you are in Boston, where things have been happening this week, to put it lightly.
Yeah. It's been a bit more exciting than we could have hoped for.
You might be interested to know that Tammy, I think she's left the audience in World now anyway, was on the chat earlier saying that there's an SL Boston meetup group of SL people who meet in Boston quite regularly, and they meet in the restaurant where the bomb went off.
Oh, I know about that meetup group, but I haven't seen a meetup in a while. I guess I should go back and take a look and see what's going on. I actually thought I would read a couple excerpts of a couple articles that have been written in the last day, if that's okay.
Sure, yeah.
Because frankly, some of the folks who've been writing have done it far better than I think I can do on my own. One of them, a couple of these are actually from the WBUR website, WBUR.org. It's a local National Public Radio affiliate. No, I don't want to install now and restart Second Life. Thank you much.
Oh, go ahead.
Only Lindas could do this.
Yeah. So one of them is titled Suddenly Calling Boston Home with a Vengeance, written by somebody named Sharon Brody. And again, these are both, there's a website, sort of a subsite that WBUR created called cognoscenti.wbur.org, which is where they put some of their longer form blog post kind of stuff. So this one is written by somebody, I'll just read the sort of beginning and maybe the end of it. We knew it could happen. The capacity of humans to commit acts of evil. This is no surprise. The randomness of whether one is unscathed or killed. Familiar to all of us. The inability to make the universe as physically safe as a padded cell. We understand. And yet we're shocked at the horrific attack on the Boston Marathon. We knew it could happen because anything can happen anywhere to anyone, and would be fools not to notice the evidence in the headlines in our neighborhoods. want to skip a little bit, just so it's not the whole thing. So even though we knew, we never expected it, and that is good. And then goes on to talk about, not ignoring danger. I refuse to concede that it's an unacceptable hazard to spend time with family and friends and strangers on a beautiful spring afternoon, cheering on thousands of people challenging themselves to run 26.2 miles. And then the last few paragraphs. I've lived here since graduating college. If you do the math, that adds up to a few years. Since despite my unwillingness to budge, this neck of the woods has never been entwined in my identity. Sure, it's a genuine metropolis, diverse and scholarly and evolving, but the soul of Boston is provincial. It's a place full of townies and folks who have been here for generations. I was an outsider, and that suited me fine. Boston didn't seem to need me, and I didn't need to claim it. I've long been equal parts smitten with and snarky about this old burg, but it isn't mine. That changed on 4/15/13 forever. This city is yours, ours, and of Monday, mine. Nobody hurts my home. No coward gets to murder and maim and demolish. My kids were born and bred here, and it matters to them to come from Boston. And I'm going to skip through a little bit more. This, too, we knew could happen. Something could turn us holdouts into Bostonians, if only that something were anything but this.
Yeah, sad that tragedy is the adhesive that doesn't happen without it.
So another one was titled Boston Marathon Bombings, They Picked on the Wrong City. And it's a long piece that goes through talking about 9/11. Let me find the end here. Okay. Last couple paragraphs. Boston is not the biggest city in America. It is not the most politically powerful. But it has an inner determination and power that only the foolish ignore. Next year, at the 118th running of the Boston Marathon, I predict there will be more runners and more supporters than ever. The attackers, whoever they are, must be incompetent. They picked on the wrong city.
And they would find out there is no right city. Actually, they're all the wrong city. And
Yeah.
Boston is too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just a shame
Yeah.
and criminal. Ugly.
So I'll post links in the chat here if you want.
Yeah,
Bit overly.
the fact that the runners who were there were from all over. I mean, runners weren't just from Boston by any means. And in fact, there was an article in the Seattle paper today about a runner from Seattle who was right next to one of the bombs when it went off and lost a foot. But the inspiring thing about this article is she was a dancer, and she is asserting that she will not only be walking, but she will be dancing by next year's Boston Marathon and will be there in the marathon. So it's an amazing goal to set. But I think there's been some remarkable displays of strength coming out of all of this that I think is one of the things that always really strikes me in the big disasters and attacks like this, and are those kinds of stories that also come out of the tragedy.
It is. It's something a sense of camaraderie and pulling together that people bring together in hard times, desperate times, tragic times, for sure. I'm reminded of wartime Britain, for example. A lot of people say, and I suspect quite rightly, although they maybe get nostalgic, that some of the best times for the community of people that was Britain was during the war, the Second World War, because everybody was working in the effort, everybody was subjected to the atrocities, but the sense of camaraderie and community that came out of it was, unheralded, really.
And so since then, just on a little bit lighter note, on Facebook there have been, any number of these meme kind of things that people have put together. One is this green, a green backed tag. You've seen the "Keep Calm and Carry On."
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So there's one of those that at the top with an Irish shamrock says "Believe in Boston," and says "Keep wicked calm and carry the hell on."
I have a sister-in-law up there in Palmer, which is right outside of Boston, and she used the word wicked quite a lot. That's where I learned it.
And so there's a friend of mine who we talk off and on, so a close friend but went to school with years ago, posted, and this he said is not original, but he wished he'd thought of it. Time to get Bin Laden, 3,000 days. Time to get the Tsarnaev brothers, 4 days. Welcome to Boston. Expletive deleted.
Yeah, it does seem that all this has been solved very quickly anyway, but doesn't alter the fact it happened.
No.
I did mention earlier, by the way, I don't know whether you can take a copy on the chair behind me. It's not going to fit on the dragon anyway. There's a top hat by me that says Boston Strong. It's a free top hat from the Mad Hattery that they've been selling for nothing for people who want to show their support. You may have to go to the Mad Hattery to get it. I don't know. Let me see if I can drag one to you if it's a copyable thing. Oh, typical. My thing's not opening, is it?
You might be able to click on it and take a copy.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. But,
in any case, later. That's okay. So,
no copy, no mod. But there's a place called the Mad Hattery, and if you may be able to find it in search, that's where they're giving it away. So I thought I'd have it on my chair.
Right. I mean, the other thing actually that I thought people have really pointed at is, and by the way, the area that they shut down, I think somebody figured out is about 10 square miles, and. It's best. I mean, they didn't give it any real numbers, but looking at estimates on Wikipedia and other sites on the web, I was trying to figure out. Okay, so how many people got locked down with this thing? And it's not, yeah, and if I were going to guess based on the numbers I'm seeing, we're talking something like 3, 4, 5 million people.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Because the greater Boston area, if you include the sort of nearby suburbs, I think is on the order of 10. Boston proper, like Greater Boston proper, I think they said is depending on which years you want to look at, 5, 6, 7 million. So I mean, Boston was shut down, Cambridge was shut down, Lena's work, which is in Cambridge, was shut down. I work in a different city, and that was shut down. I mean, basically, just nobody was going anywhere down there, and part of it is that I don't know if you heard from where you are. But it wasn't just they recommended people stay home. They literally stopped the public transportation system, all of it.
That was the thing that I noticed when I got up on Friday morning and all hell had broken loose overnight. And the company I work for, the U.S. office is in Boston. So the people that I work with most closely are in the Boston office. Obviously, because all of us telecommute at times, and everybody was telecommuting on Friday.
Right.
But thankfully nobody on the team that I'm aware of was in the area that was the real hot seat on Friday. But
right.
And we had no one who was directly affected.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm at work, I'm like 3 miles away, something like that. Lena's maybe 3 or 4 from a different direction. They said that they had somebody who, I guess it was, I forget exactly the relation, but husband of somebody who worked there or something like that. Or maybe it was just a doctor they knew who was a runner who was standing across the street against the building on the opposite side of the street. Oh yeah, no, it was somebody who worked at the company, I think, who didn't come in the next day saying that their ears were still ringing. as for like how loud it was.
And they actually found the second brother outside the exclusion zone, didn't they? Only by yards, I gather.
Yeah, by a couple of houses. It sounds like they were basically, they had made a best guess of how big this area should be to contain them, and had apparently missed by a couple of houses.
Wow.
But the other thing that is just kind of when I first heard about it, I was at work, and so I forget what it was. I just sort of flipped to something and saw an article about an explosion. I thought to myself, yeah, okay, so maybe a transformer blew up or something like that. And
you didn't expect something like that.
Yeah.
Like this. Yeah. Sorry.
How were you? Deb's Regent has mentioned somebody she knew was injured there, but she's also noted that this is another subject really. Noticed that Congress put a bill through on the same day, which went almost unreported. But actually, I was going to ask Joel. I mean, given your interest in social networking and stuff, which you're often talking about, was presumably being on the spot? Was real? Did the Facebooks and the tweets and all the stuff we rely on these days make an impact on how that played out?
Yeah, kind of in both ways. It exploded right away. I mean, everybody was pretty clear something big was up. There was an article, I think, I forget where, that talked about one of the failings of social media, and I think it was it 4chan or one of the other sites, basically lit up with people conjecturing and naming people as suspects that turned out to be blatantly wrong.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
To the point where there's a big apology about it. But on the other hand, I have to believe that stuff helped to so quickly get the word out about what was going on to people. So that, I mean, how else could you so effectively lock down a city that size 15 years ago?
If people weren't cooperative because they knew.
Because they knew, and even just how fast they knew.
Right. Exactly. Right. Right.
I mean, and when what's kind of interesting is sort of connected to that, the evidence, if you will, that the news media started putting up when the second brother was located, or no, I'm sorry, when he was taken into custody, that final thing with the boat and all, was they were putting up pictures of the tweet from the Boston police.
From the Boston police, yes, I saw that. Yes.
Wow.
I mean, it wasn't from an interview with somebody, although I'm sure they had cross-checked. But the thing they pointed to was so there's this tweet that shows it done.
Yeah, it's a big part of our lives. It's a tool.
Yeah, well, the other thing too, with the shelter-in-place lockdown stuff. One of the bits that was mentioned was that, at least in the Watertown area, that they had used reverse 911 calls to contact houses. And I don't know about Boston, but the reverse 911 system is certainly new in my neck of the woods.
I hadn't even heard.
I think that's less than 10 years old.
I've not heard of it.
It's a system that I don't think it's in place everywhere. By a long I think it's kind of a local. It gets adopted locally. What it's intended to do is instead of you calling 911, they can send out calls and blanket geographically with a message that everybody needs to hear. So I'm sure it's gotten the biggest traction in places where, for example, hurricanes, tornadoes are an issue. It becomes yet another way to alert people as fast as possible.
School districts use something like that.
School districts, school districts.
Global Connect is one of them, I know.
Yeah, school districts often have, but those are limited to students, parents or whatever. But this is one that actually is set up to call every phone number that's within a geographic area. I mean, it's finite areas, but You know, I don't think there's an. I know there's not one that would call every phone number in the U.S.
Right.
Let's hope not.
I'm going to paraphrase a Happy Gilmore tweet. I just realized I had a way to do that.
Carry on.
There was another one of these. This is from Happy Gilmore. Is Boston is probably the only major city that if you mess with them, they will shut down the whole city, stop everything, and find you.
Because that's a first, isn't it?
Yeah.
Has any city ever been shut down the way they shut Boston down for this?
What
I
they've
don't
been
think
saying
so.
is this is a first, and
Yeah.
I really have to wonder whether this may be the bellwether for the real defense against terrorism. I mean, it doesn't stop it in the first place,
Right.
but if every time it happens, you just shut down the city around it, do the same tactics,
Mm-hmm.
isolate the people who couldn't have gotten away yet and deal with them within 24 hours, and then the city goes on feeling more righteous than before,
This
that
is
kind of defeats the whole purpose.
I mean, this is actually something that has been done traditionally a different way. I don't know about in America, but in war times and things, even in London, you know, you have blackouts, you had curfews, and they weren't just hours of the day. They could be called at any notice. We had air raid sirens, you know, we didn't have Twitter. But, you know, there was a different kind of infrastructure in those days for a similar tactic, you know, which was basically locked down, and then anybody on the streets is, you know, target.
That's true.
So I guess it's not that new. It's just the way it's enacted is new. And there's some, you know, I don't think, you know, we have to be you know, technology is changing everything. You know, I think we're all glad that the Boston thing is over. It's been a tragedy, but it's proved people.
It's not over for some people.
It's proved that people can pull together. No, of course the legacy is there, but people have pulled together, and a lot of that's had to do with the online systems. But I
mean, for instance, if you look at how they got found, though, I agree. I mean, I guess I agree with the overarching, you know, been done before. But it looks like the way that these folks were found was via citizen involvement and the technology bits you were talking about, like the fact that everybody has cameras and cell phones these days.
Yeah.
And that when they were, you know, they thought they found the guy in the boat. This may not have been reflected far away from Boston, but apparently what they did is they put up one of the police helicopters that has an infrared detector on it.
Well, actually, I watched a whole news strand on that.
Oh, okay.
And some people are actually going berserk as to how long it took them. That, you know, with all the media and police helicopters in the air, and with the presence of infrared technology, how did it take them so long to find the heat signature in the boat? But you know, I was looking at things, and you know, these are just, you know, this isn't criticism or suspicion or anything like this. This is just observation, and you know, I remember reading a whole thing where they were bringing out this new high-tech robot that we're sending into the boat in advance, so that, you know, if anything got blown up, it would be the multi-billion-dollar robot, not any person. But I kept on thinking, well, what the hell's happened to all these drones we're hearing about? I didn't hear one thing about any drones being deployed to go around snooping, and to me that would have been the first step, not the robot.
Yeah, well,
I think what you're looking at there, Mel, is that while drones are in use in combat situations, like, you know, Iraq and Afghanistan and what have you, that the adoption of their use in at least in the U.S. Within domestically is very much still under debate in lots of places. I know there have been a number of articles I've seen in the Seattle papers about, you know, debates going on about concerns about using drones, the police using drones.
Yeah, I mean, the other part is just that they're, in terms of deployment speed and where they're deployed, it's not clear that there are a cache, whatever. You know, are they actually tactically in the place where they could have put one here in the time frame they needed? And I guess the other side of that, I mean, when you really look at it, let's forget about whether it's a drone or a helicopter or whatever. If you're going to create, let's say, infrared imagery of a 10 square mile area, how long does it take to scan that much stuff looking for something that could be a person?
That's right.
Yeah.
You're talking 10 million little heat signatures there.
Right.
In a highly densely populated area.
Right. And the other part of it is that somebody mentioned this, that the advantage of, you know, what I think probably made this much easier is that by then it had gotten dark, and so things had started to cool off. Whereas during the day, the difference in temperature of a person, you can pick it up, but it's nowhere near as stark as after it's really cooled off at night.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hear you on the, you know, how could this have gone better? But I have to also come back to one of the local police guys, don't know what rank, but fairly far up there, was talking about the whole situation that happened with the officer getting killed at MIT and the car chase, where they were throwing explosives out the windows. And he said, you know, this is something that folks in combat situations are trained for, but he has to really compliment the local police because there is no way they've had any training to deal with situations like this. You know, which are essentially foreign combat, dealing with explosives and that kind of stuff versus, okay, somebody robbed a grocery store.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole different ball game. Jeez.
So,
well, they did really well.
Yep. Yep. That's interesting, though, Mel. You know, in terms of the you know, analogies to way back, you know, and how people have been talking about how this is so different, the large-scale lockdown, but maybe that's an American provincial view of.
Well, where we've not had that happen on American soil, so that we don't have a
I mean, if you
point
look
of reference.
If you look back to Pearl Harbor, it was simply an attack. You know, it was on. Well, they were islands, weren't they? I mean, until 9/11, I think was the first time America had actually been visibly attacked by allegedly foreign parties on its own soil. So, you know, although America was eventually involved in the Second World War, you know, the last half of it at any rate, you were never in the position of, say, Europe, where, you know, these blackouts and curfews were part of the course. And, you know, even in more modern times, you look at conflicts around the world, you know, there's curfews in all sorts of places where the war zones. But I think this is going to be a much longer discussion, and we're going to have to wrap shortly. But I think the crux here really is that, you know, these are people, communities, countries have faced these kind of threats before, and they've dealt with it with the technology of their time, and we're really dealing with current threats with the technology of our time. So the interesting question is the technology of our time and the amazing things we have available to us now better enabling us to do so. And certainly you could say that, you know, if we hadn't had the technology, maybe the manhunt would still be going on. You know, sorry, Tara.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, or the mixed blessings of the current technology, as Joel pointed out, as far as, you know, very early tweets and posts and stuff that pointed fingers naming individuals long before that was appropriate to do, when that information simply wasn't available. And there was one guy I saw an article about who was, you know, really frightened for his life because of exactly that sort of posting.
Because people were pinpointing him.
Yeah, you know, you've got that mixed blessing. The one thought I had, kind of where I think where social media provides some potential quality added, is that unlike the situation that would have occurred in bombing in World War II in London, for example, where you hear the sirens and you head for the shelters, but then until you hear sirens again, you have no idea if there's incoming. You have no idea where it might hit. You have no information. If you hear the bombs at distance, you have no idea what's been hit. But with social media, we all have that information as soon, you know, instantly.
Pretty quickly, yeah.
You know, almost instantly. So there's we have more information available a lot faster today than was ever possible before.
I think it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? It is an open, it's still a relatively open system with online media. Intelligent people can use it, also problem people can use it,
idiots
and just idiots can use it too. And that may be a failing because you have to sift through. You have to rely on your own ingenuity, as it were, to sift through. What's really what you need from the rubbish, as it were. But no, the speed of information, of course, is undeniable. So,
well, I have one quick comment that I'd like to make. I know you want to wrap, but
Sure.
I would love to see people start asking the question, what will it take to really make it stop on a very fundamental level, and could social media play any part in that? And that's my last comment.
Well, I'd also add, it's like diplomatic work. Thinking of what Dancing Inc. does and things where virtual worlds even allow people from all over the world to meet and negotiate and discuss. And
solve problems.
Solve problems, yes. Stop playing about with messing up the planet, be it with war or ecological deprivation.
Bombing each other and
meet online and mediate and discuss things. And it's not as though it's not fairly ubiquitous now. People have mobile phones in the middle of African deserts. They have them in North Korea, I believe. I don't know how they got them in there, but some of them have them. But the global communications are a bedrock now, and if we can't use them for the most needed things we need to attend to on the planet, then it's a real shame because it's there in front of us, ready to be used. Anyway, I'm going to, I think we'll pass on this and start the roundup. It's also time for me to switch back to Tara and to get her roundup of the week, as it were. Oh. Before I forget.
Well, I've definitely said my piece today. And I won't toss in there the provocative posting that I ran across a couple days ago on the subject of shoot 'em up games and instances of gun violence perpetrated by teenagers.
Thank you.
Which that's a whole other subject.
It is,
but
remember, folks, games are not. There's lots of types of games. There's games here in Second Life and other virtual worlds, but games are not virtual worlds necessarily. Virtual worlds is something else completely. And we don't run around shooting people here. We tend to run around having fun, like human beings are meant to do,
and indulging ourselves in fun fantasy costumes and fantasy fairs and.
Indeed. Not
cats and fish.
And cats and fish, yes.
Yeah, the cats can eat the fish, but no shoot 'ems up allowed. Yeah, well, a quandary there really, but yes, yeah. There's always going to be that big debate. We had it with movies at one time too. People say, well, the movies, they got too much violence in them. People are being influenced by them. If somebody is a movie addict or a video game addict who never gets out of their game, and their game is all about fighting, it's no surprise that they lose touch with reality when they're in the real world. So there is a very good point to all this, but I don't think the blame is the society principally, then the individual in that society, and probably the video game itself is only third down the line on the blame list. But it's going to be a topic for many years to come, that one. So I think we've all finished, and we've got more clips to show over on Metaverse Week in Review, where we're going to head back to. I'd like to thank all the guests here today. Saffia Widdershins, who's now dearly departed, so to speak. Petlove, Petshops.
That's okay. I get a lot of variations, no problem.
Who's also been our wonderful camera woman. How she manages to do both at once is anybody's guess, but we're delighted to see her, and it's all been looking good at the same time. And finally, of course, to Joel Foner, who has, This dragon.
Joined us in the spirit.
Yeah. He's not really very ferocious. He's got these two little, the whiskers and the,
I think he's pretty ferocious.
There's a bit of the cat in there, put it that way.
Claws.
It goes down with all the pussies on the seats downstairs, so I think we're okay. Okay, so thanks to you, Joel, as well. I'm glad you.
Thanks, Mel.
It's minute.
I'm glad you're safe and sound, Joel, and everybody you know. So
yes, indeed.
If I have to toss in one thing, though, I just want to make sure, because I know for me this was hard too, is they talk so much about the 3 outright casualties, but there were about 180 people who had really serious injuries, and for anybody who may be far away, and all the press talks about is the 3, that really the number is more like a couple hundred of people who've had their lives affected in a big direct.
Yeah.
That's right.
And their business too, indirectly often. Yeah.
So thanks. And thanks again for having me on.
Okay, you're welcome. So with that, I'll say goodbye from the Inworld review for this week as we head back over to live stream and the Metaverse Week in Review, where we got a whole load of clips to show you. Some musical, some exotic, some arty, some less so. You know the drill. We'll be carrying on for an hour or two more with clips, or best clips of the week, as we'd like to call them. So with that, it's farewell for now, and we'll see you next week.